Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Percy Gloom, a graphic novel by Cathy Malkasian. This was published in 2007 by Fantagraphics, and it's another beautifully produced book by Fantagraphics. Very nice production values. Has a wraparound cover here. As you can see, it's pretty thick, pretty substantial. And let's show you this. I like how it has no dust jacket. Not a fan of dust jackets. The logo here is even embossed. It's very nice production. Title page, nice little illustration. Contents page. And we start off with part 1, Birth. We see Percy Gloom. He's sitting in his apartment, in a car. He has a little car in his apartment. And he opens a note, and it says, "Mate with me, Percy Gloom. Give me a baby that is mine." He closes the note and opens another note. And it's from Safely Now, the Cautionary Writing Institute. And it says, "After 20 years of your enthusiastic query letters, we're offering you a job interview. Enclosed, you will find a schedule and vague directions to our offices. Do not be late." And he starts crying. We hear a voice, "Percy, Percy." And there's this little bedside radio he has, which it's his mom. She's in constant communication with him, I guess. And she says, "Tell me about your first day abroad." So now we flash back to the beginning of the day. He drove his little, his pedal car that his mom invented. His mom's an inventor. He pedaled it to this, basically this new land, this city. Pretty crazy city there. It's a little fold-up car. So basically it's like a little briefcase size thing. She says, "How was your interview? Did you show them your writings?" And Percy says, "Well, Mom, I couldn't go to the job interview without getting something to eat." So thus begins this, like, it's almost nightmarish in a way. Not like monsters jump out or mummies or anything, but it's just like, do you ever have those nightmares where just everything you do is frustrated by something? You're trying to do something and little things get in the way. That's what this interlude almost reminds me of. He asks this man with one leg, who I think is blind, he says, "Where's the food sold in this town?" And this becomes a running gag. He says, "Up there." Go up, then up again, then up, and up, and up, and up. A lot of directions are like that. As he's trying to get to this section of town, he sees these two little kids picking up flagstones. And they say that they're looking for the magical stone. If we move it, the whole city will fall down and we won't have to go to school ever again. And they laugh. He collapses from weakness, from his hunger. And he says, "I must eat 3 buckwheat muffins and the juice of 30 lemons. I must regain strength for my interview." So these kids lead him to the muffin and juice store, and he goes inside. There's this woman, the only woman in line. She's complaining to the proprietor and getting in an argument with him. And Percy's behind her, and he notices that she has a gross foot infection. She turns around and says, "What are you staring at?" And he says, "Your toe appears to be infected." She says, "I'm aware of that. I'm healing it with the power of my mind." And he says, "But miss, there are medicines." And she says, "Medicines are poisons." And he keeps saying, "But there are medicines." He's not listening to her. And finally, once again, he says, "But there are medicines." And she gets so angry at him that she shoves her foot in his mouth. She says something about, this is kind of an important concept in the book. She says, "Do you know about the ancient wisdom of Yagapantha?" I don't need your advice. She kicks him off her foot. He runs, just saying, oh dear, because he's had an infected toe in his mouth. And he finds this fountain, and he washes his mouth out. His shepherd comes by, a goat herd, and he says, this fountain is for goats only. I like this guy just says, please, sir, show some decency, as the goats start to drink. So he's still hungry, and he's going to miss his interview. But then he sees it in the distance. Safely now. He says, I can't believe it. I'm finally here. I have loved you all my life safely now. Please love me in return. So he runs into the building. It's a very odd architecture. That's the thing about Cathy Malkasian, is she's just created this bizarre world. It's just like the architecture, the customs, the way people, everything's just, she's definitely created this this universe that is not quite like ours, but it's very much like ours in a way. So he goes into this office. This woman interviews him, and it doesn't seem to be going well. He's nervous as hell. He's sweating. He has a little flashback to when he was a little toddler. When parents said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a cautionary writer. This woman's not making it easier for him either. She's a tough cookie. He mentions that he feels qualified because his mother was an inventor, as I said. He used to assist her. And she was a little absent-minded, though, so he was always able to foresee disaster and save his mother. So this is the whole deal about this job. It's so odd. Danger lurks in all things, Mr. Gloom. We test seemingly benign products for hidden lethality. An hour ago, I promoted a woman who had bravely endured paper cuts behind both knees from this apparently harmless little greeting card. So it seems like a job that would attract masochists. Because basically you have to hurt yourself every day with products, just so you can write about every possible danger from any product. Even though it's a 1 in a million that you get paper cuts behind your knees from a greeting card. And when she finally says, there's 1,000 people who want your job. What makes you so special? Why do you want this job so bad? And he just says, I just don't want anyone to get hurt. And she basically starts crying as she just says, go away, Mr. Gloom, go. I like this return to his flashback. What do you want to be, little Percy? Nothing, I suppose. His dreams are crushed. So he's still hungry, and he passes out once again. And he wakes up, and this guy Bernard, who works there, he says, hey, these papers fell out of your backpack. Do you want me to put them back in for you? Very friendly, nice guy. And he says, oh, you don't work here? You know, I actually glanced at your cautionary statements. They're very well put. And he says, do you like hot dogs, Percy? And Percy thinks he's talking about actual dogs. He doesn't know what a hot dog is. And he says, I'll take you out to lunch. So they go into this weird hot dog shack at the top of the hill. And I guess he tells Bernard that the only thing he can seem to digest is buckwheat muffins. So when he takes one bite of this thing, he gets nauseous and runs away. This is how they serve hot dogs in Malkasian land. It's crazy shit. I really like this art style. I don't know, it kind of reminds me, I don't know what it reminds me of, to be honest. It's totally, utterly unique to me. So Bernard says, oh, so you had a run-in with Tammy. Let me tell you about her. Her parents are the local cheesemakers. Very generous, very kind. But they fell ill. And Tammy was left to run their affairs. She had no intention to, though. She basically spends her day bullying people in town, even bullying her parents' milking goats. She's a goat bullier. That's pretty low. And he says, oh yeah, I ran into those goats earlier. So Tammy has this weird thing where she rejects anything that's not perfect in her eyes. And Percy theorizes that perhaps she's afraid that perfection will be the end of all things. Claiming never to find it, she can somehow delay her own end. So Bernard leads him to this fountain. He says, you'll feel better after you drink this. It's the founder of the Safely Corporation. I love this. The water's coming out of her nostril. I guess she died of nasal troubles, this woman. And it works. Percy looks much happier and feels better. Percy talks about his family. I guess in his family, the Glooms, which is his father's side, of course, the Glooms rarely live past their mating years. They see no point in their own existence. They are puzzled from the moment they're born, because they just see life as a series of disastrous cycles. He married the mother because he was hoping that she could invent something that would help him out. But as soon as Percy was born, he slapped himself to death. I guess that's something the Glooms know how to do traditionally. But Percy says, I'm only 1/2 Gloom, though. I'm here to stay. I'm not going to follow in my father's footsteps. He says, you know how to get back, Percy? And he says, no. And so here's that good joke again. Just go down there, then down, down, down again. So he gets home, and there's a basket of muffins waiting for him. And the door person says, I did not let the woman with the awful foot in. She wanted to be let in, and I would not let her. So now we see where he got that first note that we saw on the first page. Hello, Percy Gloom. Do you like muffins? It's a letter from Tammy. Yagapantha. I guess that's her last name now. And she's very jocular in this note, very unlike how she's in real life. And basically this is the note. Saying how I want to mate with you. But the main reason why is because apparently his mouth spit cured her bad toe. So she feels a connection with him. And this almost makes him pass out. Just the idea of her wanting to mate with him freaks him out. The mother checks in again. Are you all right, son? And he says, yeah, I failed the interview, and a goat-hating bully wants to mate with me. The mother says, Percy, did you remember to screw your head on straight? He says, I forgot again, Mom. And he does. He screws his head one full turn, and it's almost like he's like a flashlight. He starts glowing. And it seems like it worked. All of a sudden, he sees everything, in a better light. And the mother says, get your rest, my boy. Tomorrow's another day. There's something about this. I don't really get what the hell's going on in this book. It's so bizarre. But there is this like emotional core to it that I get. I can't really put it into words. You might be wondering why you're making this video then. But I just, maybe I'll figure it out. But it is, I don't know. Well, let's just continue. You'll see more examples of this where just the craziest stuff happens. But there is this like underlying, just this emotional truth to it. So we have part 2, Awake. So Percy's having a dream about Lila. He says, Lila, don't go. She's saying, be happy for me, Percy. And he's just going, no, 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 no. So he wakes up and he has a new letter. Somebody snuck under the door. It says, against my better judgment, you're hired. It's the woman from Safely Now. and he's overjoyed. And he runs down the steps, and he falls right into a hole. Those two little kids from earlier come back and say, "Oh, Mr. Gloom, we're sorry. We pulled that out because we were still looking for the magic stone." And they say, "We've also been to the muffin store. Tammy has taken all the muffins." They say, "Are you hungry? Here, have a piece of gum, but do not swallow it." They basically make it sound like it's fatal if he swallows the gum. And then all of a sudden, a muffin hits him in the head. While he's passed out, he sees Lila. "Be happy for me." I love the way this is drawn. Very dark. You can almost like feel the graphite on the paper from the pencil. So of course it's Tammy. She threw a muffin at his head. So he wakes up, and it looks like she's got all the muffins. She's bought out every muffin in town. She says, "This is my sacred cave. I had to drag you here. I'll allow you one meal." And it's just very awkward. Tammy's just psycho. This woman is crazy. I just noticed, though. Oh, never mind. She does have different teeth than Lila. They both have very odd teeth, though. They both need to see an orthodontist. So she kicks him out of his cave, and he lands amongst the goats. And the goats are very verbal. They're actually quite erudite. The goats say how Tammy's parents taught them how to sing. And this is another one of those weird things that, like, I don't know, it just resonates with me. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. He says, "Please, Mr. Gloom, explain to Tammy that nothing really ends, nor does it ever begin." So Percy is still hungry, so he decides to start chewing that gum. And the whole time he's thinking, mustn't swallow it, mustn't swallow it. So he gets to his new job. Once again, it's crazy. These are called tubicles. And so I guess every place they test different types of things. This one's called Objective Nose. So he arrives at his destination, Leo's place. And there's plaques everywhere talking about this guy, Leo. I guess he's the shit there. He's like the #1 cautionary writer. So he gets right to work, sits down at his desk, and there's a hairbrush in a box. And he starts testing it for any possible danger it could cause by biting it. Biting danger, possible tooth damage. And then Leo comes in. Leo's a very odd character design. And Leo's a pretty tough guy. And he says, "You got big ears, Gloom. You're not from around here, are you? You're a foreigner." So Leo says, "Do you want to see what I'm working on right now? What I'm testing? Encyclopedias." But he's got all these encyclopedias in a crane, and he's going to drop them on his head. Because, that could happen. You got to watch out for encyclopedias. They could be dangerous if they're dropped in your head. And Percy's just like, "I better get back to my hairbrush." He tells him that he's got this hook for a hand. He tells him how he got it. And he was testing an electric potato peeler. The world is safer because of my work. Cathy Malkasian does a lot of huge butts in this comic. Yeah, it almost seems like the characters that are the most aggressive have the hugest butts. Percy has a very small butt because he's such a passive, meek individual. That's probably obviously me just reading into this. I doubt that was her intention. And he asked Percy for some help with his test. But Percy's like, no, I better get back to my room, my work. He shoves the earbrush in his ear. Handle to ear danger, possible hearing loss. So he asks Percy to press this button. He tells him it's just the light switch, but it turns out it's the button that releases the encyclopedias. And they land on Leo. And Percy's like, oh no, Mr. Leo. The scaffold that he's on totally breaks. That's how heavy the encyclopedias are. And when he pulls the boxes away, Leo's alive, but kind of injured. It seems that he has a thing going on, or at least he's in love with Margaret. Margaret is the woman who interviewed Percy earlier. And basically this is his reward. Whenever he's done with the test, he gets to press the button to Margaret's office and she comes to ask about his work. She says a reward is in order and she hits him on the head with a little hammer. So odd, this book. It has the feel of some weird parable. Like, there's some meaning to this, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And then Percy swallows his gum. And he passes out. Margaret just picks him up like a handbag. And she throws him down this chute that says to infirmary. And while he's cascading down the chute, he sees Lila again. We'll find out who she is later. So he gets to the infirmary, and Bernard's there. I guess he's one of the doctors at this place. And he starts talking about Lila. He says, Lila is lost. They've taken her. He's crying. So Bernard takes him back to that fountain. And Percy tells him the story of Lila. Lila was his wife. She joined a kind of a cult. And this cult, they were a small sect that wore funnel hats. That's why Lila's head has that shape. It's a giant hat. He said whenever she went to her meetings, she was so ecstatic. I love this how he says, Lila was a startling beauty. And then we see Lila. So the cult leader, his name is Finger. And he says I guess Lila adored him more than I realized. Because she has sex with Finger and he impregnates her. She admits it to Percy. And Percy says, I will love it as my own. But Lila is already too far away emotionally. So that's when she got her funnel hat, which means she was inducted into the inner circle of this cult. And of course, Finger tells her that she must fast and sleep in a separate bed. Basically, not have sex with Percy anymore. And one day he drove her out to this rendezvous point. Her and her fellow sect members were going to go on an outing. And as he waved goodbye, he knew deep down that he would never see her again. So, Cathy Malkasian is such an odd storyteller. So I guess the Funnelheads planned a liberation roll. And I guess Finger was seeking his own liberation. He had sired 100 children in 15 provinces. So there was all these warrants out for his arrest. So there's a carnival He drives them out to the top of this hill. Down below is a carnival. And he basically he makes a human rock slide. All the funnel heads tie themselves to these boulders. And I guess their plan was to roll down and, I guess, cause havoc and kill people. But their aim was off. So nobody at the carnival was hurt, but every funnel head died, including Lila, of course. So Bernard says, actually, I need your help with something. I run a secret network. We hide a certain class of folks. Tammy's parents are among them. I need you to help them. Will you do it? And Percy readily agrees. And he says, you fancy Tammy, don't you? And I love his answer. Percy, I'm a rational fellow, but there's no explaining love. So it's this kind of, he hands him a note, and it's kind of this weird poem. And so Percy takes it to mean like it's a code, So he screws his head on straight again, so he has a little more light. And he sees Tammy again with a barrel full of muffins. And she says, what's that note? And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. What note? Oh, I guess that is never mind. I thought those pages were sticking. She starts chasing him down the street. Tell me. And as he's running, he tells Tammy the message the goats wanted him to import to her. Nothing really ends, nor does it ever begin. She says, who told you that? Who told you? And then he runs into his apartment, and the door is slammed in her face. So once again, his mother talks through the radio. And she says, could you drop by tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, Mom, I'll drop by after this errand I have to run. Now we have part 3, The Return. He's reciting the poem to try to figure out what it means. And he tells the door person that he's going to the lower market. And she warns him about it. She sees those kids again. And the kids also warn him about the lower market. They're like, you really shouldn't go there, Percy. He's completely unperturbed by it. He's just like, what? I don't care. And he sees that blind guy again with one leg. Just go up, then up, then up again. So the kids offer to come with him. But they don't want to go in. So we went all the way up just to go back down into the lower market. So it's already like, obviously this place is not good. It's scary. The first clue he thinks he has to go to where food is sold. I love this market where it's just barrels, bandages, hats, crutches, hats. So he's actually hungry himself. So he really wants to find this food market. And then all of a sudden, he's caught in this crowd, almost stampeding. And they're crushing him. They're trampling on him. And they're running to this tent that says mush. And this guy shows up. He says, you're new here, aren't you? Follow me away from the rabble. I'll show you where some real good food is. He says, you will find your purpose here. There's lamps pouring out darkness. And then he leads him to this place, and when he gets inside, there's these weird-looking clown guys. And they say, you are the food, sir. And they grab him in a net, and then they start arguing over him. Okay, who gets to eat him? Of course, Percy's terrified. They're arguing so much amongst themselves that Percy has a chance to escape. And But he's still like on his errand. He says, I have an errand for my friend Bernard. I have to complete it. This is if I was correct about reading about how she was an animator, a lot of this kind of motion almost is like storyboarded, you know? She's really good. These crazy backgrounds and this architecture. So he's running in and running through this crazy place. I don't know why this kid made me laugh. He just sees a kid eating mush staring at him. And it makes him even hungrier. And his stomach groans are so loud that it attracts the clowns. He kind of shaking their tail. But now they find him and they start chasing him again. They grab him and they say, to the mush man. So it looks like they're going to turn him into this mush. And she throws him into this pot, or is about to. But then there's this other guy there. He says, Yagapantha. He keeps chanting it like a maniac. He sees a stained glass window of Tammy. And then as he's about to be thrown in the pot, he says, is this death? Is it just another dream subsiding? And then when he gets thrown in the pot, he says, this broth is curiously tepid. So it's not like boiling water or anything. And then the guy says, Psst, Mr. Gloom, hold your breath for 5 seconds. And all of a sudden, like a toilet flushing, he gets sucked down the bottom of the cauldron through this tunnel and lands in this weird little platform. And all these little people with giant ears, they're like, open gutters, divert broth. So they've obviously done this before. And this couple here say, welcome, Mr. Gloom. Welcome to our haven. So it turns out these are Tammy's parents. Now, basically in this world, at least for some people, as you get closer to death, you get smaller, but your ears don't. So that's why they have such giant ears. Those are human-sized ears, but they're the size of hamsters now. I know, it's just so crazy. Cathy Malkasian's like weird sense of logic and story. It's so bizarre. And they tell him that, yeah, you have big ears, Percy. It's the first sign of dying. Once we show the signs that we're dying, we're sacrificed, we're eaten. So that people can build up an immunity to death. Now, this is that whole Yagapantha philosophy that Tammy kind of came up with. So she started this whole thing. And it's almost like she's the cult leader of the city, where anyone, I guess, that they consider dying, they put in the mush and everyone else eats it. So it's become a way of life. So Tammy's parents take him to their cute little home. And they give him some of their famous cheese. And they tell a little story about how Tammy and Bernard grew up together. And Tammy was a wonderful little girl, a little wild, but she wasn't how she is now. And I guess one day she came home, many days she came home, after having a wonderful day, minding the goats, daydreaming, hanging out with Bernard. She would have this incredible sadness. Why must the day end? And the father would say, nothing really began, my sweet little girl. Time and all its diversions are mere ideas, but she was unwilling to entertain their abstractions. And they tried to explain the timeless unity behind life, but it only made her more intractable. When she was 12, her favorite goat died. Suddenly, Tammy realized that everyone and everything was just passing through. Everything that she loved. Death became a great betrayal. And so she started shunning her parents and Bernard, and she became obsessed with the end. We see these pictures of Tammy when she's little. She looks very happy. So that's when Tammy came up with this whole Yagapantha stuff. Death is a shameful sickness. We conquer it by conquering the dying. That's the philosophy. So basically, Bernard made this whole system where he knew the tunnels under the town, and he'd rescue them, and everyone would be delivered to this haven. Nobody knows about it. Everyone just thinks they're cooked to mush. And they ask about his father, their method of dying. He tells them about the ritual death slap. And then he says, what about your mother's side? What is their method? He says, I don't know. I never thought to ask her. She never told me. And now we see a flashback to Percy and Lila. So I guess as you continue to, get sicker, your body keeps shrinking. So they give Percy a note, and they're like, would you please give this to Tammy? We miss her. We still love her. And then all of a sudden there's a pop sound, and they abrupt diminution. Oh, how do you say that word? Diminution? They basically abruptly get diminished and get smaller. And now their ears are even more proportionally big. So he leaves, and he comes back to the main city, and he comes to confront Tammy. And Tammy's doing this weird ritual thing, like she's on a pole with a bucket on her head, just chanting Yagapantha. I really like that image of her with a bucket on her head. And so this enrages Percy for some reason. He starts throwing muffins at her head. Over and over again. And it seems like it's kind of stunning Tammy. And she falls off her pole. And he keeps throwing muffins at her head, though. Because he's angry at her about what she did to her parents. I mean, as far as she knows, she cooked her own parents. And then Percy just runs out crying. And he drives away from the central part of the city. He realizes that he really enjoyed pelting her with muffins, though. But he's completely frustrated. Kind of having an existential crisis. So he finally makes it to his mom's house. He sees her pet, whatever the hell this is. Some kind of bird. Millicent. He asks her, hey, say, Millicent, I've met some goats who can talk. Can you talk? And the bird says, of course not, Percy. I'm not a goat. Man, nobody... Cathy Malkasian's got one of those totally unique brains. Almost like someone like David Lynch or something, where it's just like... Or Jim Woodring. It's like, how do you even think of this stuff? Sorry, guys. These pages are sticking. Okay, so he gets to his mom's house. And she's cooking him muffins. And she wants to show her newest invention. I'm sorry, show him her newest invention. The Just Add Water Instant Mountain. And it's one of those other things where I don't quite understand, but it seems to have some emotional resonance. She says, Something's wrong with it, though. I realized I put the mountain in the very spot where you used to do all your thinking. She says, thoughts are like pigeons, my boy, always flying back to where they feel safe. There it is. Your thoughts bore a hole from the top. Now they are hollowing out the structure. He says, those are my thoughts? It kind of looks like some jagged nerve ending or something. She says, regrets to be exact. You've been thinking about Lila. He says, I can fix this, Mom. She says, no, son, let it burn itself out. But she says, the main reason I called you back here, because I have a note from your father to give to you on this particular birthday. Percy didn't even realize it was his birthday. He says, how old am I? She says, very old. So I guess it's a Gloom tradition that they leave instructions for their offspring, since they all die pretty young. And it's a note from his dad. And he finds out from this note that from his mom, he's inherited the burden of living forever. And for me, you got the means to escape this tedium if you choose. Included are precise instructions on how to do the traditional Gloom death slap. You can escape this misery anytime you want now. This is a pointless universe. Whoever you are, I am certain I would have loved you. So odd and yet kind of moving. He's talking to his dad. He says that when he first learned how to screw his head on straight, emitting that glow, moths would flock to his face. It used to annoy him until he listened, and the peculiar flapping of their wings sounds like a little symphony to him. And he does just that, and the moths come back. So now he goes back to his mom's house. And she says, I've got presents for you. She got him a special telescope that she invented. If you look into it, at any distance, you'll find your twin, a salve for loneliness. His father never used it. And then she gets him a dustpan and a brush. He asks his mom if it's true that he'll live forever. And she just says, my boy, never discuss age with a lady. So he feels much better now. I've talked to his mom, screwed his head on straight, and he got that note from his dad. His mom's muffled are very dry, though. So he's coughing. He sees that old man again, the one-legged man. He asks him if he needs a ride. He says, don't worry about it. But he tells him, he says, the children found it, by the way, the magic stone. I pointed them right to it. No school today, no school ever. And Percy's like, oh, shit, because he knows what that means. And as he approaches the town, it's devastated. It looks like an earthquake hit it. He sees Bernard, and Bernard says, though, the disaster happened very slowly. Everyone had time to kind of find their way out of it. But there are the dying. And Tammy came out, and she reunited the living with the dying. So all those people, the tiny people who were in the Haven, are now reunited with their loved ones who thought they were mush. And he has to be taken to Tammy. And Tammy's there. And I guess her parents are so tiny now that she shoved them in her ears so she could hear them. And she's talking to them. It sounds like she's agreeing with them. She's like, I will. Yes, I will. And they're basically reminding her of everything she's forgotten. And then he sees her kind of bend over in sorrow, and he surmises that they're gone now. They've shrunken out of existence. So he goes back to the Safely Now building, which is cracked in half. And giant tears fall down and almost hit him. And it's Margaret. And she says, I failed. My life has been a waste. As the world crumbled, I warned against nail clippers. He says, here, look through this telescope. She's afraid that it might harm her. Could this cause possible corneal damage? He's like, it's safe, just try it. And she says, oh my God, I have a twin. And she's dancing a polka. She's fallen. Oh wait, she's getting up and she's dancing a polka again. So weird. And it seems like it really made her happy. She says, I don't know what to say. And Percy says to her, in the business of caution, we are unprepared for happiness. And that's the end. Once again, I'm not quite sure what that means, but I think somewhere deep down inside me, I do know what it means. Some just a very illogical, emotional part of myself. The part that half lives in the dream world or something. Also, I just love this landscape here. This beautiful devastation. So there's a little bonus feature to this book, which is very odd. It's an appendix, Nulla e Nuovo. I don't know if that's Esperanto or something. And it's sheet music for the goat song. And it's kind of nonsense words. Nulla e nuovo sotto il sole, nulla e nuovo. Okay, I'll stop. Sorry. And we just have these nice little drawings of goats and the rest of the sheet music. And a goat tells us something in a foreign language. Il meglio è nemico del bel bene. So, I don't know what that means. This thing came with one of those little flaps on the back cover with a couple of blurbs. I finally took it off after, 20 years of owning this. So there you have it, guys. Percy Gloom. I don't really know how to explain this graphic novel, even though I tried for the past hour. But I just know I really like it. And I don't know, it's very evocative of something. I don't know what. But like I said earlier, it seems to have these emotional truths, even though I don't know what the hell they're talking about. It hits me deep in my core. So I guess it's your mileage may vary on this. It is pretty silly, nonsensical, and maybe you won't see anything valid about it. But I mean, at the very least, the art's really nice. Some beautiful cartooning. I just love that shady pencil line of hers. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.